we kind of laid the foundation of what a makerspace is, what the purpose of it is, and some great success stories. But you also have a model where you invert the economic development model. So I want to hear more, and I know the listeners want to hear more about this because I think it's a great idea to kind of flip the way we do things with economic development. And this is your idea, so I want you to speak into it.
Yeah, I love how you keep saying seed because we did name the website Seed Region One. And the reason this came about was employers in the construction industry met with tech educators in the technical industry. How do we attract more younger generation into the skilled trades to help build our future workforces? I was like, you, Mr. Employer, you, Mr. Educator, should be going out to these maker spaces and putting on a little challenge, a little building challenge, put a hot dog stand out there in a blow up house for the kids to bounce around and bring people out of the neighborhood and give them a chance to tinker and play. And then say, hey, did you like doing that? You're this guy's, you're this school, and I'll send you, I'll give you a job. And it was a wonderful concept, and we mapped it all out. But what we identified when we did map it out was there was no place for once a kid created it, had all the resources to create a project and get it to market, but nowhere to create a scalable manufacturing model. So we were missing like a collaborative manufacturing space. Like if you watch Shark Tank, you've seen somebody like a family turn their whole garage and house into a soap factory. All right. And then they have a scalable model to give Mr. Investor, or they outsource it overseas. But how many times do you go on Shark Tank and they say, well, you want $500,000 for 10%? I mean, I'll give you 10%. You're asking me to do everything. You don't have a scalable manufacturing model. You don't know how you're going to make this thing and mass produce it. So that's what the whole map was missing, was collaborative manufacturing spaces. The great thing about collaborative manufacturing spaces as a nonprofit can actually be profitable. So if you can make it for $1, wholesale it for $2, and retail it for $4, and you make it in a collaborative manufacturing space, those profits that are being made while they're creating the scalable model can go back into funding the facility itself. Not only that, but supporting the surrounding community. Like a lot of these things are in these spaces that are being underutilized, and the intellectual property are all in these urban neighborhoods that we drive by on a daily basis, but don't have the schools that are connecting them to the colleges and the tech schools. They don't know what they're going to do when they graduate from high school. And here's an opportunity for us to place it in their lap and actually use the profits that are made while they're in there, creating a scalable model for an investor to fund the economic development of the surrounding neighborhood while we're creating businesses in our own neighborhoods at the same time. Because our economic development policy right now is to steal everybody else's entrepreneurs. Wait for, leave that building rotting on the corner until some major corporation comes in and wipes it out and builds a new high rise to create more minimum wage jobs. All the high end wage jobs end up they come from elsewhere, and the money goes elsewhere. It doesn't really go. You can revitalize as many river walks and historic hotels as you want, but what contribution are you really making to the economy if you're not building something that's going to build the future of the economy? More minimum wage jobs isn't good.
Wow.
So,
And as I hear you talk about, I'm reminded you and I had a conversation pre-show to talk about what we're going to talk about. And when you talk about these underutilized spaces, which means they're in a
yes.
deprived area. Okay, so they're not being rented because they're not being utilized. And then you got this young person that's sitting on those street corners. They have ideas and dreams, but they don't have the way to get there. And you're saying this is a way to get here. This is manufacturing and creating people with technical skills and technical aptitude is a way to increase wages and improve society. Love it. So tell us, again, how that can work on a multi-scale level. So you say, okay, now we've got this idea, we've done it in a makerspace, but now we want to go up into a larger manufacturing facility. And what are you proposing how that works?
Well, that's why it starts in the construction industry and roofing. We have access to all those property investors and managers and county properties that are old burnout fire stations that are sitting there rotting, not doing anything. So taking an inventory of available properties in around your communities that are just sitting there deprived is a good place to start. Station 2 Innovation Center in Bradenton is a really good example. It was turned into a collaborative collaborative workspace and business incubator that's still thriving today. I think it's going on 6 years. It was a county property. It was sitting there collecting files. It was a county building, but they created a new county building. So everybody moved out of there and they just started storing files in it. It's sitting there collecting tax, it's not gaining any tax revenue. It's not supporting, it's costing taxpayers dollars to support the utilities just to keep it alive and from rotting. So these two business consultants went in there, Spark Growth, moved in and said, "Hey, give us this building for a year, and we'll turn it into this. This is our model. This is what we want to do with this space, and we'll start funding it. We'll start paying lease, we'll start paying for the utilities, and start paying taxes, and start generating revenue." And we after watching that unfold, I realized it's almost like a 2-year model. You really need if there was a building rotting in the hood and just sitting there, no individual investor wants to put that kind of money into that one building. But if you had somebody that said, okay, well, if you're Mr. Investor, if you're sitting on here, basically let me have it for 2 years. Give me 6 months that once from the point I know I have it to refurbish it, get furniture in there, do I got to fix the roof? I can raise the funds from multiple businesses within the roofing industry that want to get behind and put a little piece together. It's a community effort to refurbish the property, to fill the property. Okay, then I need a 1-year scale to actually show like a scalable model of my own that it actually works and recruit people in there and get people in there. Entrepreneurs fund these maker spaces, give them a space. Say, hey, all you need is a 10-foot by 10-foot room. Here, you have it. Set up your assembly line. Your goal is to make it for wholesale it for $2 and retail it for $4. You can make it in this space. I'm going to keep the wholesale markup. For everything you sell out of here, the $1 to $2 comes to the house to pay for the overhead. So it's self-financing. Okay. If it's on a nonprofit level, the margins that are made while they're there go into a account that gets decided on how to revitalize that surrounding community, whether it's fixing, clearing an empty lot, fixing a porch that's going to fall on 83-year-old Mr. Jones's head. Let's just take his porch off and put a ramp to his house. Let's clean up our properties and create some pride in our neighborhood. Police start coming around, crime starts clearing out. So after that 1 year, now we can say, okay, let's talk about from the 18 to 24 months about now we're in a position where we're actually creating revenue and we're able to start paying some taxes on these property or pay, and pay utilities. And then now we're setting up to actually start paying rent or purchase the property. So, Mr. Investor, you just got somebody, just by giving us this building is sitting there rotting for 2 years, or Mr. County government that's letting this county building sitting there waiting for somebody else to come in and level it. Why don't we refurbish it instead and make it purposeful? And as a community, we pull together and revitalize it and make it a viable asset that's contributing to creating small businesses in our own region, in our own area. So that's the model, really, in a nutshell.
Oh, this is a great idea. I love to hear from you. In fact, that's why you're on the episode today. We want to hear about this. I'm inspired by it. In fact, I always hate to see a structure torn down. It's like, man, you could have made that into a useful space, and to tear it down and
Right.
start over just always dumbfounds me, the expense associated with that, and how you could repurpose the existing building.